Hello everyone and welcome to another video on the Liam Talks F1 channel, and today I'm going to be talking about the 1998 Belgian Grand Prix and why it was such a special Grand Prix for so many people, more specifically for the Jordan team. So, if you don't know what this Grand Prix was, I'm going to run you through it and why some people say it's one of the greatest Formula 1 races of all time, being up there with the likes of the 1967 Italian Grand Prix and the 2011 Canadian Grand Prix, both of which I will save for another video. So, how this Grand Prix played out. So, the grid looked like this. David Coulthard was second on the grid, just behind his teammate Mika Hakkinen, and third was Damon Hill. Now, the reason why this top three was so important was because of what happened straight after the start. So the race was set to start in wet conditions, and the race started, into turn one they went, and it was all clean, but because of how wet it was, out of turn one, David Coulthard got on the power and spun, got on the power too early and spun, causing, I think, a 15-car pileup, as only a couple of cars managed to get out. This is a very famous instance of very dangerous racing. As I said, 15 cars were out of the Grand Prix, and because spare cars existed in those days, some of the drivers that retired from the race managed to get into their spare car. However, 4 drivers weren't able to get into didn't have spare cars, so they weren't able to restart, and two of those drivers are well known, as one of them was one of the worst F1 drivers of all time, and the other was a pretty decent driver. And those drivers were Rubens Barrichello and Ricardo Rosset, and I think Esteban Tuero was another one of those that couldn't restart the race. However, the key thing was that Damon Hill managed to get away unscathed, and this was key for later on in the Grand Prix. So, the restart happened, and right off the restart, Hakkinen spun, and Hill took the lead from Schumacher. But however, Schumacher caught Damon Hill pretty quickly, and drivers kept finding themselves in difficult scenarios, such as when Giancarlo Fisichella retired from the race while running in the podium places. And then when Schumacher, then about to lap a slow David Coulthard, who I think had damage to his car, so he had to get repairs. He was quite a few laps down, Coulthard. So Schumacher was going to lap him before a very, very famous incident happened, where Coulthard, thinking Schumacher was going to go on the left of him, slowed down mid-straight. And as a result, Schumacher went right into the back of Coulthard while leading the race. Now, as a Ferrari fan, I am very bitter about this scenario, about what happened here, because Schumacher was on course to victory, and had he took victory, he would have won the championship that year. However, because of this incident, McLaren won the championship. But anyway, that doesn't matter. What matters is who was in second and who was in third at the time. So second and third at the time were Damon Hill and Giancarlo Fisichella. Fisichella binned himself out the race, and as a result, Ralf Schumacher managed to get himself up to third. And because of Schumacher's incident, as it stood, it was going to be a 1-2 for the Jordan team. Meanwhile, Schumacher was strolling back to the pits. I nearly said the word that Schumacher was at Coulthard. He was very angry at Coulthard, ran to the garage, and went, "You fucking idiot," and tried to punch him or something. I don't know. They got into a bit of a squabble, and at this point the Jordan team were cruising. There was no competition behind, as third place was a slow Prost of Jean Alesi, and it looked like it was going to be a Jordan 1-2. However, this might not have been the case, as Ralf Schumacher was much quicker than Damon Hill, and looked as if Schumacher might win the race after all. However, Damon Hill said over the radio, "Do you want a 1-2 or do you want us to crash into each other?" So basically he dictated the team orders and got them to slow down, and as a result, Hill won the race ahead of Ralf Schumacher, and Eddie Jordan ran up and down the paddock like a lunatic. But then again, who wouldn't be after you take your first win unexpectedly as well? And this would be Damon Hill's last podium in his career, his 42nd and final podium in his career, and it would also be his 22nd and final Grand Prix victory. But for Ralf Schumacher, this was just the start, as he would take 6 victories in his Formula 1 career and plenty of podiums along the way. I want to talk a bit more about what happened on the first lap, because I don't think I emphasised enough on how famous this was. Because Coulthard hit the barrier, he sprung across the track, and they were playing ping pong together. Tires and front wings were all over the place, debris was everywhere, and it took over an hour for the track to be cleared. That was how long it took for the whole thing to be cleared. And the fact that Jordan won this race was extremely unexpected, as 2 Jordans being on the podium was quite unexpected. But then again, Ricardo Rossi being on the podium is 10 times more unexpected than that, as Hill started from 3rd and Schumacher started from 7th or 8th on the grid, whereas Rossi, being the driver he was 2 seconds slower than his teammate Toranosuke Takagi and started 20th on the grid. And he was a very slow driver, and he was on a turbo, which wasn't very good. But then again, Shinji Nakano and Esteban Tuero being on the podium was just as unexpected, maybe even a bit more unexpected than that. So guys, if you did enjoy this video and me reviewing 1998 Belgian Grand Prix, and if you want me to do another video on explaining it a bit more, hit the like button and subscribe, and I will see you all for the next video. Peace out.